briskets today. I mean, I was up early yesterday with briskets, but I literally checked them and went straight back to bed. But today is not that way. These briskets are larger and they have to be wrapped. And so let's go back to Zoomy. There we go. We are live up on the YouTube. We are back, and I will call you, Tyson, for a little better sound on the podcast. So give me 1 second.
You betcha. Good morning and welcome to the Fan's Perspective with Tyson and Josh.
We are back, thanks to me being a big old wuss. I was wimping out. I apologize.
He had a near-death experience.
I had a man cold. Yeah. Oh, man. So stupid.
Well, hey, that's how she goes sometimes, and we are golden.
Awesome.
We are recording, we are live, and we are back.
Hey guys, sorry about that. Man cold almost killed me, but I survived, and here I am drinking coffee at 7 a.m. with you guys.
Well,
We're
a
back.
lot has happened, man, since
we
last spoke.
That I predicted was going to happen too. You were willing to trade the farm on your Oilers, and I said they will turn the ship around, and they have turned the ship around with having to trade basically no one other than
not yet. Not yet. Ship ain't turned around. We're floating though.
I don't know about that, man. 5-0 last night. Rod Brind'Amour almost killed Darren Pang on the bench when they interviewed him. I mean, it's looking like that. I don't care where they are in the standings. The last 5 games tell a story. That is not the same team that we saw at the start. Which
no, it is.
I was hoping it would never end. I was hoping the bleeding would end into a hemorrhage and it would just be a disaster. But sadly, I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, they are playing a lot better. There's no question. And if we bring up the standings as of this morning, we'll go over the scores last night. Florida 5-4 winners over Dallas. Tampa Bay 3-1 winners over Pittsburgh in Tampa. The Vegas Golden Knights 6-3 winners in St. Louis. And your Edmonton Oilers 6-1 winners at home in Edmonton. Trouncing Carolina. It was 3-0. Man, 3 minutes into the game, which was awesome.
Bang. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So as we speak right now, Edmonton is 6 points out with 2 games on hand.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's friggin' December. Yeah, like it's a no-brainer that they're, as long as the injury bug doesn't catch them boys, they're now rolling. They're on pace. There's no issue there.
Calgary is only 4 points out with no games on hand.
Yeah, but they don't have a team. They're still experimenting.
They're trying to find their way where they're going to go, and they're going to make some trades. And
I hope so. I hope they work toward just bringing all the youth up, letting them play, seeing where it ends. Let us finish in the bottom 5, please, for the love of God. Let us finish in the bottom 5, not in the middle of the pack like we do every year and screw ourselves in the draft. Let us go to the bottom.
Well, Calgary has never decided to do that. They've always
never. Ownership has never allowed it.
Yeah, middle of the pack, and then they never get that big draft pick that you really need. And maybe they'll get extra draft picks if they trade the Tanevs of the world and the Hanifins.
I'm not a Craig Conroy fan, so this really was his first move with Zadorov, and in my opinion, it was probably one of the biggest failures ever. I'm not a Zadorov fan. He wanted to be gone. He's a sloppy puck handler, but he's a big guy. And you could have got something for him. And in my opinion, you trade him within the conference, which I think is totally weird for your first move as a GM. And then you get absolutely nothing back. Like a third in 2026 and a second in 2025 or something, whatever it was. It's absolutely useless, to be honest with you. And maybe he was just an absolute cancer in the dressing room. That's a horrible term to use, but I use it. Maybe he was, but I just like Conroy. If that's your first move, that's a brutal one, bud. Like that just to me, nothing lined up. Not one of the parts of that trade was good. So
my theory of that is why there was no great return is first of all, he's a third line defenseman. Who's making quite a decent contract. I believe he was, he was almost $3 million, maybe
2.75 or something like that.
So for another team to fit him under the cap is one, a problem. And two is, do you want to pay a third line defenseman that much money kind of deal?
It's a lot of money, but the problem is it's you don't like Zadorov, Spit and Chicklets, not Biz, the other guy. Whitney said, you can't look at it like because Biz brought up the third line, the wage and everything. He said you don't look at it like that. You look at it like a team. He's like how Craig Conroy needed to sell it was you need a tough guy, you need a big guy. Don't worry about where he sits. You need that guy going down the road. He's going to be your playoff make or bust. And he's like, you sell him that way, and you get this next year's early second round pick, or he's like, you got to get something better. He's like, it was just terrible all the way around. And I
agree. I wonder, if the trade thing won't be disappointing for everyone because the cap doesn't really move till next year, and there's so many teams against the cap.
I think you're right. I think that plays a big factor.
Even at the trade deadline, when their money doesn't really add up because 2/3 of the season is over or whatever.
Yep.
It's very hard to fit that money in without the team trading to kind of hold some of that money back,
Completely. I mean, and I love it though, because the cap keeps things honest.
Yes.
Not like baseball, where if the Yankees want, they can pay Soto. And I mean, they probably could sign Ohtani too, really, because it doesn't really matter in the end. We have $77 billion, so let's give this guy $800 million.
Yeah.
And let's give this guy, and who cares about a cap? Like, let's go.
Shohei Ohtani told the Yankees he is not coming to there.
I know.
And there is strong rumor, and hey, man, I am excited as a Blue Jays fan that there is a possibility that we could get Shohei Ohtani.
They are sure pumping that up. I mean, it would be crazy. It would be unreal if they did. I don't know if that's all just bullshit and rumors like Blue Jays always like to do every year, pump themselves up. But there's a lot, and there's a lot of analysts saying that there's, a higher chance Blue Jays than any other team. And they say they tier it Blue Jays, then Dodgers, and then it's like 6 other teams randomly.
I am predicting by this evening to early tomorrow morning, you'll hear an announcement. You'll hear Shohei Ohtani has signed with the Toronto Blue Jays, 10 years, $650 million.
Crazy.
And he'll have opt-outs after year 2, after year 5.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I know if you're not a baseball guy, I guess, and I'm not, but I just because I watch sports shows all day, especially now at the office, I just leave them run all day. That sounds like a crazy amount, and like you're selling the farm. But the thing is, baseball's a business. It may not help you win, in my opinion, for the simple fact that it will suck up a ton of the money, especially in the Blue Jays. They don't have quite the money that the Yankees have, or maybe the Braves have. However, it will make them financially viable for not 10 years, but probably like 50, because he's the name. He is so good. He will change the culture. And years after he's gone, his jersey will still be sold. His name will be in the rafters, because you get him for the bulk of his career at his prime, which is right now for the next 10 years. His name goes in the rafters. His name ends up being synonymous with the very best Blue Jays that have ever played of all time. It's a win-win to me.
Wow.
Even if you don't win, it's a huge win. Having him there puts butts in the stands and sells way more jerseys than any other name in history. And he will do that to any franchise he ends up with and signs long-term. So I think it's worth the money. I know it's a crazy amount. Don't worry about winning. You win to have him. And there's a chance you could still win because he's that good. So that's I say if they get him, that's hugest thing ever in Blue Jays history.
Oh, it would be. And they do say business-wise, the contract, they will make money on that contract with him.
There that's what I mean. That's the craziest part about that. A lot of times there's not money to be made. It's a win situation. You put all that out there because you got to win. He's that good. He is that difference. Like, there's only 2 guys this year that I think that could, and that Acuna, is that his name? Acuna Jr.?
Yeah.
He's another one that I find that could be worth his weight in gold for finances. Those 2 guys, because, man, everywhere I look, and I'm not a baseball guy, so I just pay attention to names and different things. those two names pop up everywhere. Jerseys, shirts, this, that, this memorabilia. It's like, holy shit. Like those two boys, they put money in the pockets of owners.
Well, Ohtani, the crazy thing about him is he pitches, he's top 10 pitcher in the league. He is top 5 hitter in the league.
Yep.
Like that is incredible. He's known as the modern day Babe Ruth. And anytime
exactly.
you mention a player with Babe Ruth,
unbelievable.
You're talking all-time greatest player in baseball history, you could say, I believe.
And that's what I mean. And I mean, Babe Ruth still sells to this day.
Oh, his card sold for over $7 million a week.
Yeah.
Like a baseball card.
That's crazy. I mean, yeah, like the Bambino, baby. Like, yeah, I think if the Blue Jays could get him, do whatever it takes. I don't care if it's massage parlors on the weekly, whatever it takes, you get him there. And I mean, it's his decision ultimately, and I'm sure the Blue Jays know all this, and they are doing everything.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It would be the biggest thing ever. Even me not being a Blue Jays fan, I think it'd be the greatest thing ever. I mean, what a way to, after the shittiest season that I can remember, because they were so favored to do so well, what a turn of events it could be.
Oh, it could. And Canada will go crazy. That you'll see an Ohtani jersey everywhere in Canada.
It'll be the number one selling thing at Christmas this year, even though everyone's already got their gifts bought, because everybody's going to be running out and grabbing one.
I'll get an Ohtani jersey.
There you go.
I will, because I love the Jays. And when's the last time you heard Toronto talk about getting the best player in baseball? Like,
I was going to say, when do you really hear about Toronto in the off season? It's not a big thing.
No,
this is a big thing.
We know Rogers Communications has tons of money, so
you bet they've got the money. Spend it.
They can market it because they own Sportsnet, right? They own the baseball rights. They own the team. They own the stadium.
This is a massive positive investment, in my opinion. I think it's a no-brainer. You throw everything at them and make it hard for him to say no.
Well, you know, when a team owns the stadium, which very few teams do, so you get total revenue windfall from those stadiums. That is a lot of money. So you have all the concessions, all the ticketing is yours 100%. Like you're rolling in cash. And just think, that's not the only thing that's being played at that stadium. There's concerts, there's all sorts of stuff. Like that team makes hand over fist from that facility. Oh,
that's a rare situation.
Yeah, wait till Taylor Swift comes and
like look at the money. $100 million a night. Yeah, like holy Jesus, man.
Yeah, like that's a gift for them basically to have a big name in like that. So looking ahead, let's hope we get an announcement. And if we do on Ohtani, we will have it up for you, because I am watching. I'm a baseball hot stove guy right now. I got the Baseball Network on all the time, the hot stove. And I love that the American media stream is like, they're talking about it, but they don't want it to happen.
They don't. No, they last night, the two shows that I ended up watching right after I got the briskets on, just waiting for the grills to regulate, so I stayed up for a bit. Both the guys, I don't know what it was. One was called Belly's Sports. It's on that new TV thing I got, but they're American channels.
Yeah. And
both said that the Blue Jays had the highest percentage to get him, but they both were like, but it's a better move to go to Dodgers. They should be in LA. And if not LA Dodgers, the one guy said, what was the other team he liked? He's
San Francisco Giants?
No, he liked Seattle. I think the Mariners need to go out and get him. He's their next Griffey. He's like, he will have a statue right up there. I was like, oh my God, these guys hate Toronto. They didn't give Toronto 5 seconds other than saying at the very start they had the highest percentage, but I think it'd be a bad move. I don't think Toronto, Canada is where he needs to be. And then moving on. It was like, that was it. That was, get out of here, Canada.
Well, one guy's analysis that I heard last night, and it actually makes sense, is his money. So in that contract, it's American funds, of course. So you come to Canada with those American funds, you're gaining another 30%.
30%,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is crazy. It is
So for every
crazy.
1,000, he's getting an extra $300. And
Yeah.
I don't need to tell you when you're talking in the hundreds of millions, how
Millions.
much that means.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, he's just, a big factor for me about Toronto would be baseball's not really played in the winter. So
Yeah.
it's not as big a factor as other sports coming to Canada, if you know what I mean. Like baseball, or basketball, I don't think I'd want to play in Toronto as a basketball player. Predominantly, they like the heat. I wouldn't be coming up to Canada. Hockey, I wouldn't want to play in Toronto for two reasons, because the Leafs won to Toronto. But baseball doesn't really have that factor. If he doesn't want to live there in the winter, he can move back. He's got $650 million in the bank account, baby. He can have a house wherever he wants for the winter.
Or 2 or 3 or 4.
Exactly. Or multiple homes all over. But so I
He
don't
could
think
be.
baseball is as big a factor in the landscape as they're making it out to be, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree. And Toronto's got a very good reputation. They've won a couple World Series. They've always been a great organization.
Great fan base. Great fan base. And that's fun to play in when you're a superstar. Are you kidding? And he's already a superstar, so he's not afraid of the limelight. You know that.
No, exactly.
So there are guys that can't handle it, like a Johnny Gaudreau, I'll say right now. He hated it. Not being able to walk and get a coffee. But I mean, Toronto's perfect because it's big enough. There will be guys that are walking down the street that won't know who he is. Yet when he goes to the stadium, he will be the next Babe Ruth. So
yeah, I got to ask you a question because baseball is really upset about this. So baseball people have been saying they wish it would be more like a LeBron James situation where you have the media and you're more open about contract negotiations and you're pumping it up. Where Shohei Ohtani is like tight-lipped. Anyone talking to his group has to be tight-lipped. Which do you prefer as a fan to see?
I prefer Ohtani out of respect because I think LeBron. I think he almost does, like especially LeBron. And it's not all basketball. There's lots of those guys, but they got a different, to me, and I think you would agree, more that arrogant nature. Like they're almost bragging about what's all going on. And man, look at these deals. That's how I always feel. Look at these deals. I got a deal here, a deal there. I haven't decided where I'm going yet. I'm worth more than anything. I love the hockey's also pretty tight-lipped, to be honest with you. And I love that. I've always respected that. That's their life. That's their business. There's more than just money on that decision. And solely it's his decision alone. And I love the tight-lipped stuff, and I like how it adds excitement on our show. We have no idea really what's going to happen. We're just excited one way or the other. Yeah. I think it's good for everything, and I think basketball's turned into this arrogant, pompous, ridiculous. It's like a circus show at this point already, and it's one of the main reasons I don't like basketball. It was way better when Jordan played.
Yeah. Well, money wasn't the way it is now in basketball, right?
No. And I mean, these guys, like basketball players, are paid a huge amount, don't play near as many games in baseball, no physicality. Baseball has to be paid. You are away from your family for 200 and some days a year.
Yeah, there's only 365 days and they 162 play games. So
and that's without playoffs.
Yeah. So, and I mean, there's days off where you're not at home either. So I would say baseball player with spring training and everything, I bet they're gone 300 days a year.
There you go. I was going to say 225, and they got to be paid because they are missing out on family time. Yeah. Building a family. And just think, they start when they're 20 at that, whatever, and could play till they're 35. That's a bulk of their career when the kids are young, right? I mean, so there needs to be an expense paid for that. I still don't believe in 650 for any one man. We talk about it all the time.
No,
but
exactly.
The valuation of a player and in sports is absurd, and nothing we can do to change about it. But basketball, I think, is probably one of that, and soccer is one of the most highly overpaid sports in the world.
When Ohtani signs, he will get damn near as much as an NHL team.
Yeah. Team.
Team. Not player. Team. And if we go back to the CFL, oh my God, he's making more than the whole league times multiple times.
He damn near makes as much as a team in the 3 games.
Because I think the salary cap is $5 million per team in the CFL times 9. That's
just over 5. Yeah.
Yeah. $45 million. Ohtani is going to double that. Because this is in American dollars.
Yeah. That's unbelievable.
That is. So when you hear a CFL player getting a contract such as our good buddy Sean Bain, they deserve every bit of it. And
Every bit of it.
guys, the NFR and PBR. And speaking of that, our boy Jared, tonight, NFR starts.
Yeah, I saw him. He looked good. He was up on stage. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before I saw it. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool, man. He's there.
Yeah, on Instagram, I shared the Zeke Thurston video where he took his little boy up and
I sure did.
And got his number and everything, and his little boy's doing a bucking little thing up there. It was hilarious.
It is hilarious. It's awesome, man. I mean, that's a family sport. Let's be honest. Your family is the most devoted thing in rodeo because without them, you ain't doing it.
No, exactly. And you know, I think the NFR, when they do qualify, those guys take their family, and it is a family event for 2 weeks, basically. And what a way to spend kind of a pre-Christmas vacation. That would
be cool. I got a buddy that used to go every year, and that was his Christmas vacation. He would go to NFR, and after a couple of days, waste all his money gambling, and then he'd come home for Christmas. Yeah.
So good on the Canadian boys down in Vegas. I hope they win a pile of money and come back and spend it on carbon tax.
That's right. Yeah, come back and give it to the government. But effective January 1st, at least we don't have to pay it on our heating because Scott Moe sent a letter to Sask Energy, right? No, Sask Power, whatever. That's Energy today or yesterday that effective January 1st, if it hasn't been removed, for all to not pay it. Do not forward it on. Do not charge it. So.
Speaking of carbon tax, I may have got me and you in a bit of trouble, and we'll see where this goes. But anyways, I was watching this Vassie. I can't remember her last name. She's on CTV Power Play. And they're talking about carbon tax. And of course, she had 3 Liberal guests on, which is
of course always
as itself, right? But they're like, studies have said that anyone who makes under $50,000 a year gets more back from carbon tax than they pay. So I get mad and I write her a thing on Instagram, start following her, and I write her a message. I'm like, why don't you have real people on who actually pay the bills and can vouch? Yeah, you may not pay carbon tax on groceries, but grocery price is affected by carbon tax.
Right.
Other things are affected by carbon tax because it costs freight. Freight is a big driver, right?
Huge.
So, and there's carbon tax on a train, a plane, an automobile, whatever. So I'm like, have real people on who can tell you what they pay in carbon tax. And in fact, I said, me and my buddy have a podcast. We'll be glad to come on your show and set you straight. So we'll see what happens, man.
I'm in. Are you kidding me? I don't care if I get canceled for that. I'm in. It's something I believe in, dude. I think the way that they predict it and they talk about it, like, well, I look at all my bills. You get these, liberals or left side. Maybe they're not liberal, maybe they're middle, but more left, or they just agree with the carbon tax, whatever. They're like, I look at all my bills and I think I only paid $12 this month in carbon tax. Your groceries are double. Do you know why? They had to get to that store. No, there's no carbon tax on the grocery, but your chips that were $4 that are now $7, $2.60 of that increase is due to the carbon that they had to pay to get it there for freight. Yeah. And then this, and then that, and then that, and then that. And they're like, and then they argue back. No, that's not how that. It's just inflation. I'm like, no, just inflation is our stupid president premier. No, that's not right. And it's just, you can't even argue. You cannot even argue with them. They have no clue. They believe whatever. They're still CNN followers, they still listen to CNN, for God's sakes. The fact that channel still exists scares me because people are watching it.
Well, it's the old saying, you can't fix stupid. And you know what? The people have been brainwashed, but there's enough of us that know better. And we all know by our power and heating bills that we get monthly, there is no way in hell we get.
Yeah. No, I've never benefited from a tax ever in my life. I can tell you that right now. Our government has not fixed our roads, has not put it into my school system that my children go to, has not been put into my infrastructure ever, or my healthcare. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people out west here would feel the exact same way I do on that one.
And I will say 100%, Mother Nature and our environment
hasn't been saved either.
Yeah. Like the idea that this is a climate change strategy attacks is mind boggling because how stupid are people really when
Yeah,
they
what are
believe
they? What are they using a shirt cannon thing to shoot dollar bills into the sky, and it's
Yeah.
just creating a safety net of dollar
Yeah.
bills?
And the other thing is Canada has like less than 1.5% of the world's total emissions.
Yeah, we don't make
What?
emissions.
Yeah. What are we going to do to save the world realistically?
Even if we were perfect, we would take 1.5% off.
Yeah.
1.5%. And it's costing this country everything.
And we're one of the very few countries in the world who have a carbon tax because it does not work. It's just a tax for the government to have extra revenue.
Well,
Simply put.
more money.
More.
So let's get into, yeah, screw the farmers, really.
Yeah, that's the other thing I argued with her. I said, you said farmers have a 97% 97% tax exemption, but every input that we buy, those companies pay carbon tax to produce them, which makes our price go up. So don't tell me we have a 97%.
Yeah,
exemption.
no. And that's another one of those skewed numbers.
Yeah.
Because they hide things behind other things and they never bring them to light because they don't want that.
Exactly. Yeah. But let's move on. Where are we getting
NFL, because we got to make picks, and I got to talk about the Eagles.
Yeah, so we're gonna make picks tomorrow because I ran into a little glitch with Sports Select. So when we do not pick, so when we make a pick, we got like mere hours to go and get that ticket, because if we do not, the odds change and the ticket becomes invalid now.
Yeah, so and you got to rebuy the newest ticket every time. And
yeah, so let's pick tomorrow morning if you're available.
Sure, I am. Yeah.
Then we'll go and we'll cash it in. I'll come to town. I'll set it up and we'll have a ticket.
Okay, perfect. That works for me.
But let's go over the games. Anyways, we'll talk about the games this week and we'll talk a little bit about last week, even though I don't want to.
Sure, I know you don't. I know. I had a great week last week. Probably maybe the best bye week in the history of the NFL ever.
Baltimore gains ground on their toehold.
What the hell? Ridiculous.
Crazy.
More injuries, which is horrible, though. More injuries, which is horrible.
Yes, it is. Okay, so New England is at Pittsburgh Thursday night. What a snoozer again.
Oh, my God. That is possibly the game that's going to set the NFL back 50 years.
Brutal.
Here's a crazy stat before we move on to the next one. There is 2 teams in the NFL in the last 4 games that have combined to allow less than 48 points. Only 2 teams. That's unreal for a 4-game span.
New England
one is 4-0, one is 0-4. San Francisco and New England Patriots. They have not won a game and they've allowed 48 points in 4 games. That's unbelievable.
Defense, no offense.
No offense. They can't get a field goal right now.
So just on that, why would they not get like Nathan Rourke from Jacksonville? Give him a chance.
Give him a chance. Anybody at this point.
Like, obviously it's not working with Mac Jones there.
What do you think? This is Bill Belichick. He's working on Caleb Williams. He's got a draft pick in mind already. He doesn't want to win. That's why he's been so somber this year. You think if this was Tom Brady's in there and they were like this, he'd be freaking out. He has a plan, that dirty bugger. He either wants out and wants to implode this franchise so badly, or he's got someone coming up and he knows where he's going to sit in that draft ranking, and he's going to get him.
Well, you need a quarterback, and I believe they don't have it. So, anyways, Tampa Bay will visit Atlanta on Sunday. LA Rams at your Baltimore Ravens. That should be
that'll be a good game. The Rams have been more offensive, and they've got Cooper Kupp and Paka Nukwaya or whatever his name is. They'll be good.
Yeah. Detroit visits Chicago. Detroit looked a lot better this past weekend.
Finally. Well, they did at the start, but they allowed that team to come right back and barely win. They were up 21-0 and only ended up winning by 5 points or something. Wow. So
kind of an interesting game. Indianapolis at Cincinnati. And hey, that Browning kid had a game for Cincinnati.
Yep, one of only 6 quarterbacks to ever throw over 85%, over 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. One of only 6 quarterbacks to ever do it.
Can you imagine quarterback controversy in Cincinnati?
They play way better under Jake Browning for the simple fact he doesn't throw as much as Burrow was. Yeah. And their running game is good. They've never used it to its full ability because of Burrow. I think they realize like we could, and not that they Burrow, but maybe they could adjust the way Burrow's playing, keep him up a little bit more, and they could be just as good, maybe better.
Yeah. Another interesting game, Jacksonville at Cleveland. Jacksonville will have Beathard as their starting quarterback.
And Cleveland's on quarterback 17, so that should be a good game.
Them poor guys. Carolina at New Orleans, what a horrible game.
Oh, another terrible one.
Yeah. Houston at New York Jets, another snoozer. Like,
yeah, I feel bad for Houston. Losing Tank Dell is not going to be easy to replace. He was, that was Stroud's blanket.
Yeah, agreed. Minnesota is at Las Vegas.
Well, that's going to be a shitty game. That's going to be a shitty game.
Seattle at San Francisco, must-win time for Seattle.
Yeah, I think the Niners are going to destroy them.
Niners are healthy right now.
They're still healthy, and when they're healthy, they might be the best all-around team. After watching last week, seeing them healthy, their defense and offense and special teams, I was just like, okay, all right. We need these guys to get injured because I don't want to play them come down the road. Nobody wants to play them if they're all healthy because they're so overspent as well. By the way, they got to be so far over. I mean, I look at their defensive payroll and I'm like, I know Brock Purdy only makes 75 cents a game, but the rest of them make hundreds of millions. Like these guys they picked up everybody off the defense. So
we know he's not getting much because he's a farmer in his days off.
He is a farmer. I love Brock Purdy because of that.
I do too. Buffalo at Kansas City, must-win time for Buffalo as well.
I think that's a must-win for both because Kansas City is reeling.
Well, you know what? Baltimore can seal the deal if Buffalo does them a favor this weekend.
Yeah, they could. I don't think Buffalo will, as we've seen Buffalo all year absolutely choke. But at the same time, both those teams are kind of reeling right now. Now, Kansas City's going to make the playoffs regardless. And with Mahomes, that's all you need. But they do want to make a stand some point here because these last few games, they look beatable. And if you allow the other team to think that you're beatable, because it used to always be they're not beatable. In the playoffs, can't beat these guys. But when you get a little bit of faith.
Well, if Kansas City has to go on the road in the playoffs week 1, if they do not get the first place bye, that makes things interesting. Even if they are at home, it's tough, but it's always tougher going on the road.
The only thing, I don't know, I think they still have a good shot at it because the Ravens' schedule is so freaking hard. I don't know if the Ravens have it in them to. We got to play the Niners yet. We got to play the Dolphins yet with the Rams. We got some really tough games ahead.
Philadelphia at Dallas, which is
that's the game I'm excited about. That's going to be a bloodfest, I think, because
that is going to be a bloodfest.
Eagles are going to be angry as shit after last week, and
they are, but they are hurt. Philly
Dallas
has.
Bad. I know. And Dallas has that faith now and that arrogance and their odds went way up after last week. So I think the Eagles are going to come in there and just want to punch them in the mouth. So I think it's going to be a dogfight.
I'm waiting for the Eagles to have that offensive breakout where just Jalen Hurts wins them the game because they're going to need that at some point because their defense is hurt so bad. But,
I agree.
And then 2 Monday night games. Tennessee is at Miami. And Green Bay is at New York Giants. So
Green Bay is going to win that
with the stunner, right, on the weekend.
Green Bay is on a heater. Jordan Love's playing great, and their defense is actually playing ball.
Yes.
And what was the other game? Miami at anybody, doesn't matter. Miami's going to win that. I don't give a shit who it is.
Well, I'm just trying to bring up the playoff standings here quickly before we end the show here, and I will bring it up as soon as I get a chance here.
And tomorrow I'm catering all day, so I'll do the morning show, and then I can get to work after that. That'll work perfect.
All right, and I will get our Sports Select picked on time tomorrow. Okay, so here's a updated playoff standings. At number 1, Miami Dolphins in the AFC right now.
Yeah. Tied with us
number
for the
2,
record,
Baltimore Ravens, both teams at 9-3. Number 3, the Chiefs, 8-4. Number 4, Jacksonville, 8-4. Number 5, Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 6, the Indianapolis Colts. Who thought that was going to happen? And number 7 on the AFC side, the Browns. So on the bubble, you got Houston Texans and the Broncos and the Bills. So it is tight in the AFC.
Yeah, it is.
It is very tight.
Can you
Moving on.
imagine if Anthony Richardson wouldn't have got injured?
Yeah. NFC, Philadelphia Eagles, number 1 at 10-2. 49ers, number 2 at 9-3. Lions, number 3 at 9-3. Then there's a huge drop off. Number 4, Atlanta Falcons, which I can't believe, at 6-6. How can that be at 4?
That division, good God.
Number 5 is the Cowboys at 9-3, which makes no sense.
I know. They're just in the wrong division.
Yes. Number 6, the Vikings at 6-6, and number 7, the Packers at 6-6. On the bubble, 2 6-6 teams: Rams, Seahawks, and then you got the Buccaneers at 5-7. So I believe. Go ahead.
I think the Vikings are going to fall out of that.
Yeah.
And I think the Seahawks have a legit chance to possibly get in there. I don't think they're going to win this week, but I believe they're one of the better teams on that bottom of the bubble. I don't believe they're a contender this year, but I think they might get in. But I don't believe the Vikings have what it takes.
They could. And I believe the NFC is a lot more two-tiered than the AFC. Like the AFC, man, 7 is Cleveland, which is a great team. If they didn't have their quarterback injuries, like where would they be? So I think the AFC is a lot less scripted than the NFC. Like there's such a after the top 3 in the NFC.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's not always like that, but lately it has been. Yeah. And the AFC just a dogfight every game. It's you just never know. And the top teams always seem to rise, and it's like 6 of them. And then the rest kind of just suck. I'm not sure why.
Yeah. And I the AFC is going to be the division to watch in the playoffs because, man, you're going to have a dogfight. Not saying you can't have upsets, but the top 3 in the NFC is not likely to get upset.
I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly. The AFC, anybody could lose any game. I mean, Jesus, man.
Well, your top 7 could all be number 1. You could
exactly. It's going to come down to the second last to last week to decide anything on that side, and it might come down to the last game of the last week.
Yeah, and the last play.
Absolutely, it could. I mean, it's that crazy.
Of course, injuries.
And injuries are piling up, man. Holy shit. We lost Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if it's the whole year, but they said at least till playoffs.
They have, they haven't really announced much on that.
No, I mean, they're pretty tight-lipped. And then they lost. Who else went down this week? There was other guys that went down this week, other big names. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I saw the injury count the other day. It's like 297 starters.
Tennessee's running back is out, concussion protocol. The big
Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Didn't even see that one. Oh my God, that's huge for them. I mean, they're not going to make playoffs anyways, but that's a huge name.
Yeah, big name. They're just guys are falling just like cookies crumble, basically.
Well, they should create an NFL carbon tax. It would probably save the players.
Oh, I would think so, because it definitely works for the environment.
Works for the environment. Why can't it work for player injuries? Come on, government, get involved. Get involved with the NFL. You want to have your hands in every other stupid thing. So maybe charge each player a carbon tax and they'll stay healthy.
Yeah, the NFL could come out with Roger Goodell, a player safety tax. There you go.
I like it. It'll keep you guys safer.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll charge you 5%, and that will double annually every year for the next 7 years.
Until you're absolutely broke and Goodell makes all the money and you make none. And then and then he'll rent you your house instead of you owning it, just like we're headed towards. And you can just live off of us. We will provide.
And you will be much healthier as a player because of
happier. You'll be way happier just to make nothing and work for me.
Hey, win-win. I don't see a problem with it. I'm sure Justin Trudeau would love that.
He's listening right now. He's taking notes, that dumb bastard.
All righty, man. Well, that's probably it for today. It's been awesome getting back on the wagon,
finally,
the horse, and you're feeling a lot better. You
way
still
better.
look like shit, but hey,
yeah. Well, that's never ending. This is the best I've looked in 2 years. So.
We'll get Megan on that one. Maybe we'll have her on the show on Monday and say, like, does Josh always look like that?
We will not get her on the show on Monday. Yeah, Megan not going on the show, not ever.
All right. Well, you have a good day. Stay healthy and keep on it, buddy.